So I guess we don't have freedom of speech anymore. I guess they could throw out the First Amendment right out the door. That's what Pam Bondi said. Doesn't that concern all of you? And then there's Pam Bondi. You see, we've talked about this before with Attorney General Pam Bondi, who is just awful at her job and will do anything for Donald Trump. Anything. Here's Pam Bondi yesterday on a podcast, thinking that she's in a very safe place, saying for word that she's literally going to go after people with hate speech. No place, she says, especially after what happened to Charlie. So now apparently if somebody's on a public sidewalk and they're saying things about Charlie Kirk that Pam Bondi doesn't like, the DOJ is going to go after you. I mean, it's totally against freedom of speech, our Constitution. This is exactly what Pam Bondi said yesterday.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Did you hear what she just said? Guys, did you hear the words of Pam Bondi? Now, she tried to retract it today and lied. I have her exact words here. She said there's free speech and then there's hate speech, and there is no place, especially now after what happened to Charlie. In our society, we will absolutely target you. Those are the words of Pam Bondi. It's against our laws, our Constitution, freedom of speech, and everything we stand for, unless you live in a dictatorship, and apparently that's what they want. MAGA Republicans have been all about free speech and censorship for years. But now all of a sudden Pam Bondi makes a statement like that. If she doesn't like what you're saying, they are going to target you. It's insane. It is absolutely and abundantly disgusting. I don't agree with what a lot of people say. I don't agree with people when they celebrate what happened to Charlie Kirk. I disagree with them. Now, them getting fired from a job is up to the employer. That has nothing to do with the law. But basically what Pam Bondi is saying is if you are on social media or you are on a public sidewalk and you're holding up a sign celebrating what happened to Charlie Kirk, which, by the way, I would never condone, that legally they're going to go after you. So I guess we don't have freedom of speech anymore. I guess they could throw out the First Amendment right out the door. That's what Pam Bondi said. Doesn't that concern all of you? We can disagree with what people say, but it doesn't mean that people should be targeted by the DOJ because they might not like politically what somebody is saying. I'm not talking about threatening somebody, and she wasn't talking about either. Obviously, threats are against the law. Incitement of violence is against the law, and I'm totally good with that. But if you hold up a sign on the sidewalk that say, I believe Charlie Kirk deserved it, which, again, I don't condone that sort of verbiage, but Pam Bondi is saying they're going to go after you legally. That somehow that's breaking the law, which, by the way, it's not. We all should be concerned about this. I guess let's start with the Epstein stuff. So as you know, a reporter asks him and Pam Bondi about Epstein. And before Pam Bondi even says a word, Trump immediately interrupts her and gets very defensive and says, why you guys keep asking about Epstein when his own supporters have been talking about it for years? What did you make of that moment?
Really, really strange the way he handled that. You know, the reporter asked legitimate questions based on what's been in the news. This is the only subject MAGA has been talking about for like the last 48 hours. It's like their number one topic. So, of course, you know, it's a very fair question. And the question was asked of Bondi, and she starts answering it, and Trump immediately jumps in and interrupts and gets very defensive. And then, you know, bizarrely says that I can't believe you would ask about Epstein after what happened in Texas. I mean,
right.
Trump is rambling on about every other subject in the world. He's talking about gold, how he's not sure if he should paint the moldings in the ceiling with gold leaf or gold paint. He's rambling about windmills. But then this question gets asked about Epstein, and suddenly it's he called the question a desecration of what happened in Texas, as if, like, just so bizarre. And then, so he rambles on, and then she finally is kind of allowed to answer, and just serves up like a word salad that made no sense. Like, I listened to it a couple times.
Ron, she's talking about that missing minute, right? And I went back and I listened to the clip that you're talking about, and you're right. It's like a complete word salad. She's not making any sense. Where is the missing minute? And what her answer was just really bizarre and confusing. It didn't make any sense at all.
The thing is, Pam Bondi could never do a press conference ever, because she couldn't handle getting serious questions. So the only thing she ever does is Fox interviews. And the last 2-3 days have been like the first 2-3 days in a row where she hasn't been on Fox, because, and believe me, they're dying to get her on. Jesse Waters, this is all he talked about last night. So Trump is very well aware, since this is now being talked about on Fox, that this is a serious issue, because he watches it every night. So, the fact that they can't even get her on shows you that she really, really doesn't want to talk about this, but she can't hide from it forever. So I think almost like she thought that it would never get outside their little right-wing bubble by going on Katie Miller's podcast, which is not watched by very many people. It's new. She just started it. And she probably figured she was in a safe place to be able to pop off and say something like that. But, somebody clipped it and it went viral, super viral last night. And she got the huge backlash, and then she had to walk it back this morning.
Let's start with Pam Bondi. She's basically saying that if there's any sort of, her opinion, hate speech, really, we know what that means, right? Anti-Donald Trump, anti-MAGA, she's going to go after you. What do you make of this? I mean, it's against our Constitution, our First Amendment rights. I thought MAGA Republicans were for free speech.
And everybody associated with his, law enforcement team, his DOJ team, Trump's, is so in over their head, intellectually, qualification-wise. They're not ready for prime time. They're not ready for something like this. And so, we saw her get into hot water with her own supporters over the whole Epstein thing, where she bungled it repeatedly. And here we are again, where she's just taken incoming big time, not just from Democrats, but from Trump supporters yet again over this comment. Now, I think she got a bit caught up in all this is the problem. They're too online. They have their heads in right-wing social media all day long. I follow these people. They post on social media all day long. It's the Attorney General of the United States. I mean, these are the FBI directors. They're not supposed to be on social media all the time. They're not supposed to be commenting on open pending investigations. But, all the rules and norms that have guided this republic for 240 years are thrown out the window with this cast of characters. They don't follow any of them. And that causes them to get in trouble repeatedly. So I think she got caught up in all the mania on there about, we need to go grab everybody and prosecute everybody that's, saying mean things about Charlie Kirk. And then she goes on the podcast. So where did she say this? She didn't say this on Fox. She didn't say it on Newsmax. She didn't say it in a press conference. She said it on Katie Miller's podcast. Okay, who is Katie Miller? Stephen Miller's wife. So Stephen Miller went nuts yesterday and said all this inflammatory stuff when he was with JD Vance, when they were guest hosting Charlie Kirk's podcast. Then Katie goes and has Bondi on, and they go right down the same road. But it's different. It's one thing to be like the policy director of the White House saying crazy stuff. In theory, he has no authority over law enforcement. But it's different for the Attorney General of the United States to say those things. They carry a different degree of weight. So when she goes on there and she starts talking about, we're going to go prosecute people saying nasty things about Kirk for hate speech. And by the way, she also mentioned prosecuting the lady at home at Office Depot who refused to print out Charlie Kirk posters. She didn't want to print them out. She was fired from her job.
Ridiculous.
But now Bondi's talking about wanting to criminally prosecute her for racketeering. I mean, racketeering, that's what they prosecute mobsters for. So I think almost like she thought that it would never get outside their little right-wing bubble by going on Katie Miller's podcast, which is not watched by very many people. It's new. She just started it. And she probably figured she was in a safe place to be able to pop off and say something like that. But, you know, somebody clipped it and it went viral, super viral last night. And she got the huge backlash. And then she had to walk it back this morning. She goes and she puts out a long tweet saying, oh, no, I wasn't talking about hate speech. I was talking about, you know, organizing to, you know, threaten people. And it's like, no, you know, she was, again, rightfully called out for that, saying that's not what you said.
Yeah, just like she didn't say she had the Epstein files on her desk either. She walked that back as well. It's just completely and utterly ridiculous.